see my screen? Good to go? Great. So we're going to be talking a little bit about virtual interviews and career fairs and how to navigate this whole landscape now. Before I really start, I also wanted to thank everyone for your time. Say blessings and wellness to you and your family. I know this is a difficult time for everyone, and I wish you all well, and you'll be resilient and you can get through this. Just lean on the support that you have at Queens College and your peers and your family to help you navigate this unique time, and you'll definitely have some great stories to tell. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? We already did introductions. We're going to be talking about virtual interviews and the different types of virtual interviews. What's a one-way virtual interview? What's a two-way virtual interview? How do you want to set up and stage? It's really the basics. How do you want to set up for your virtual interview so you have the most successful interview possible? We're going to give you general tips and advice. And then, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about your upcoming virtual career fair, which is in 2 weeks on October 14th. So hope you all are ready and fired up to attend that career fair. A lot of people are putting in a lot of work to make sure it's a successful one for you all. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. Sound good? All right, thumbs up, good. All right, so what's the difference between one-way versus two-way virtual interviews? With a one-way virtual interview is pre-recorded, right? So this is either something that was through Modern Hire or HireVue or Spark Hire. There's different platforms. And usually they will send it to you and via email, and you'll get a certain amount of time on how much time you have to answer those scripted questions. There are always a set of questions that you and your peers will be getting related to that particular role. So that's a one-way virtual interview. Then you have the two-way virtual interviews, which are live, which is something that you would see over like Zoom, like a platform like this, or Skype or Google Hangouts. And this is a little bit different, right? So you're talking to a live person through a virtual setting. What things to think about and when you get your invite for your HireVue or your one-way pre-recorded interview, you want to do as much research as you possibly can on the structure of this interview. Every company is a little different, right? Some will allow more time, some will allow you be able to redo your questions. So you want to look and make sure if there's anything on their careers page that walks through how to have success. Oftentimes, companies will provide you with a tip sheet or an FAQs. If you can't find one and you don't see anything on their careers page, you've done as much research as you possibly can, I think it's totally fine to reach out to the recruiter and ask some questions about how do you best prepare for this upcoming pre-recorded interview. And then with a two-way live, this is more conversational, right? This is a more natural, even though it's a little bit hard, you're looking into a camera and you're talking into your laptop, but you're still able to meet and talk to someone live. This is really important for you to show that you can listen closely to their questions, you're showing eye contact, and you've actually thought about questions that you want to ask this individual. So that's two-way interviews. All right, so some general tips and advice. You don't need this elaborate setup like this young man is here with the lights on both sides, but you really want to put in the amount of effort that he has here. You want to really make sure you position yourself in staging to make sure you're positioned well. So the first thing you want to do is test your equipment. So test your internet speed. There's plenty of sites that you can go online for free that test your internet speed. If you need to do some troubleshooting before your interview, you want to make sure your speed is good. Maybe you need to move to a better part of your home or where you are that's closer to your router. You want to think about the lighting and the audio and the background, like noise. So for example, I have a piano downstairs. My daughter, she's 8 years old. She was just banging on the piano and I was like, hey Adele, reminder, I have this video with all these students coming up. So you want to think about your surroundings and talk to your people share your home with, and let them know, hey, I have an important video interview I'm doing. I just need 15 to 20 minutes of quiet. So think about your environment and control as much as you can. Of course, you want to dress for the role, so dress appropriately. People ask, hey, we're going to talk about what it means to be living or not. Okay? I hear some background noise right now. Can we just mute your line, and then we can have Q&A later at the end? And then in terms of attire, you want to dress appropriately for the role. You don't necessarily need to wear a full suit, but I think it's appropriate to wear a tie and wear, you know, a nice shirt, and, you know, dress appropriately for the role, and not just wear like a hoodie. And be thoughtful of your body language. It's really important. This takes practice, as you know, you're talking into a screen, which is awkward. Recruiters also know that it's awkward and a bit difficult, but it takes a little bit of time to practice your breathing, your smiling, trying to look at, you know, the dot on the screen to, or your camera. But that does take time, and obviously you want to be thoughtful about your body language and show that you're engaged. Your eye level, like this young man here, he has his camera up and his laptop up closer to his eye level. So you want to test to make sure, you know, that the camera isn't like this and you're looking down on people like that, or like this, like that. That would just be a bit odd. All right, staging. You also, in terms of lighting, you really don't want to have lighting that's behind you, because then it'll dark out your face, and then you're sort of all of a sudden interviewing, like auditioning for some drama play or something, or you know, some horror film. It's dark and you don't want to intimidate anyone. So you want to be thoughtful, test the lighting, know what time of the day it is. If you can use natural light, that's always best. So you can see on the left here, he's got the light behind him here. On the right, he's got the light in front of him. That's a lot better. Things I recommend you not do is don't forget to wear pants. Or, you know, you want to dress. So basically the bigger point is you want to dress comfortably and you feel confident, right? So if that means you're wearing nice slacks, even though maybe they're not going to see them, it's still, you'll feel confident. And for some reason, if you need to stand up, something comes in, at least you're not wearing your pajamas, right? Or, you know, so be thoughtful about, you know, your full attire, and think about getting your mindset into the role of being prepared for this interview. Backgrounds is something we get a lot of questions about, and, you know, filters. Don't use any filters. If you do have a filter on your laptop, maybe you have a snap filter, make sure you double check that it's not on, and that you've tested. Like this person here forgot that they had the potato filter on. But there's a lot of great sites that you can go online to download backgrounds that look nice. Like West Elm has very nice, clean, professional looking backgrounds. If you're concerned about your background, I'm actually in my bedroom right now. I kind of staged it to make it look like an office a little bit, because this is where I do all of my work. But, you know, if you are going to use a background, make sure it's professional and it's nice and clean, and you know, West Elm and there's other sites, you know, offer really great ones that you can use. And this is, you know, me earlier today. My son and daughter, I have 3 kids. They love to come in and interrupt my meetings. It's just par for the course here when you have 3 small children. I asked them please not to at this time. I told my daughter Adele, who was playing the piano, hey, we're gonna have a bunch of college students I'm talking to. And she's like, oh, I'm coming up. I want to say hi. I was like, that'd be sweet, but maybe not, maybe later. You know, I have this call, so I'd rather you not interrupt. So just tell, you know, tell your friends, your neighbor, your roommates, your family, that you have this important call, and please don't interrupt. And you want to do a lot of testing. So I recommend you look at all the applications that you have on your computer and you try to shut them down, like any messaging apps that you may have. If you have Facebook, if you have, we use something called Slack here for the office. So I shut that down so we don't get any messages like, hey, what's up, Mike? What's going on? While they pop up while we're doing this interview, we don't want any distractions like that. So make sure you are looking at all the applications that you may have that may pop up and bring a distraction, right? You wouldn't want that to happen. I also recommend that when you're doing these interviews, don't do it on an iPad or a tablet. Try not to do it on your phone. And I understand, you know, you may have limitations on the technology that you have, but if you can do it and borrow someone's laptop, it's just a much better staging and you have much more control, and it's a lot more stable of a technology to use. So try to use it, do it on a laptop, or if you even have a webcam, you can use that too. A few things to always think about. So during the interview, right, you want to do your absolute best to try to look into the camera lens. It's a great way to actually connect with the recruiter or the professional that you're talking to. You know, force yourself to show engagement, nod your head, listen, smile, make eye contact. You want to watch your tone of voice. You know, and one thing I would also recommend is it's okay to have notes if there's certain points that you want to make, but maybe just have a couple of bullets as reminders. You don't ever want to like have a sheet of paper where you're reading your answers off a script, right? Because then the recruiter can tell that, and it just doesn't come off authentic and genuine. And that's what the recruiters are really trying to assess and say, is this a good person that we can connect with, that we trust, that we genuinely know and feel confident that we want to invest our time and energy in them in a career. So try not to read off of a sheet of paper, read off a script. I also recommend, you know, it's okay to pause. If you get a question, wait a whole second. It might seem like a long time, but it'll give you a second to collect your thoughts and show that you really are thoughtfully answering the question. So, you know, sometimes people feel uncomfortable with silence, but you just have to embrace it. And it's okay, right? You just let it go. Just like even a second or two, it might seem like a while, but it'll just give you a moment to collect your thoughts and show that you're answering thoughtfully. And again, be mindful of your posture. Do your best to show your engagement. You're looking directly into the camera. You know, you're sitting up straight, and you show you're interested because you're not in a live interview with someone. So you really do want to do your best to try to present that you are, despite the technology, that you are really present, that you are engaged. So always recommend you do your research, you know, find out what kind of questions you anticipate the company is going to ask, whether it's a live two-way interview or it's a one-way pre-recorded. Be prepared to answer basics about yourself, who you are, any previous experience you have, and how it's related. They want to know that you've done your research on the company. You want to be able to simply explain why you're interested in this company. What is its mission, its values? How does it make an impact on society? What is it that really drives you, that makes you want to work there? They'll also want to know examples of how you work with others, what type of person you are. Questions about your work style. So you want to be self-reflective, try to think about examples of how you're a team player or whatever it may be, or how you take leadership. You want to make sure that you are expressing that and how it's relevant to the role. So basic questions you know that you're probably going to get, even either pre-recorded interview or live. You know, why this school or this major, why are you interested in this role? Why do you want to work for our company? Tie it together, right? So try to, you know, what recruiters and everyone say is connect the dots between your major, your interests, your passions, and how that aligns with the company and how that aligns with what you want to do with your career. And then always be prepared for different situational questions where they're like, tell me about a time you had conflicting deadlines and how you managed that. So those are the different types of things you want to prepare for, and it'll all be examples of you to demonstrate who you are. One great technique I always recommend, you probably have seen this before, I always think it's really powerful and easy to remember, is the STAR technique, the STAR interview technique, which stands for situation, task, action, result. If you're not familiar with it, just Google it. It's a great way to really, from a formatting perspective, how you can tell a short story about how you've made an impact. So, you know, you'll usually get those kind of situational questions where they'll say, tell me about a time you had to do this, or how did you handle XYZ? You'll describe the situation that you're in. What was the task at hand? What were the challenges? What were the goals? What action did you take? You know, what did you demonstrate in terms of the action that you took that highlights your teamwork, your leadership, your initiative? And then what was the outcome? You always want to try to be outcomes driven and show, okay, because we did XYZ, this resulted in ABC, right? And how, you know, it was a positive for the company. So follow the STAR technique. It's a really great way to kind of format and think about, okay, if I get a question, what are the steps and things I want to explain about the impact that I've had? Follow-up. We always get questions about when should we send a follow-up email? Definitely send a follow-up email within 24 hours. Optimal time is within 4 hours. And it's even fine if you get a pre-recorded interview question, and if you have the recruiter's contact to say, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really key that you do that. And feel free to ask about next steps, but only to the recruiter. You don't want to ask next steps to the professional that may have been interviewing you. If they're from the business, they're going to tell you to talk to the recruiter about the next steps. Or if it's not already clearly spelled out in the email or the communication that you got, if like, we'll get in touch with you within 72 hours, then you know that you should wait that amount of time before you ask about next steps. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your upcoming career fair. When is it again? It's October 14th, right? A few things you want to be able to prepare for. Even in a virtual setting, you want to still have a brief elevator pitch because you want to be able to explain who you are. So things you want to, you know, be able to articulate is, you know, who you are. You're a sophomore, you're a junior, what are you studying? What interests you have? And, you know, why does all of that make you a good fit for this company, or why you're interested in now, you know, working and applying for this role. So for example, hi, I'm Mike. I study English at Binghamton University. My interests are photography. And that's why I'm really interested in this marketing role. I want to bring a creative lens to how you do this work, or whatever it may be. But, you know, it's usually less than 30 seconds. And, you know, you just really want to have that down so you can explain who you are. And remember, so Queens College, you're using Simplicity. So here's some tips related to the Simplicity tool. I don't know how many of you still use Internet Explorer. I don't know anyone that really does anymore because of a lot of, for examples like this, a lot of platforms that don't support Explorer. So make sure you have Chrome or another platform, Safari. You want to join the Zoom meeting with employers online versus downloading the Zoom when the pop-up appears. I'm not sure if that's just a technical issue, but make sure you join the Zoom meeting live when the employers are online. And remember, while you're in queue, you want to remain in the virtual career fair. So you don't want to hop out or go and look at, you know, another site or go to CNN and read the news while you're in queue and while you're waiting, because you don't want to miss any opportunities of employer chats or chat requests that you might be getting. So you have to stay really focused. Make sure you click the attend button to join chats. That's simple enough. And then ahead of the career fair, you should really do some research and find out which companies are going to be there. Figure out who you want to talk to. You can search online, LinkedIn, to see which recruiters might be attending. You know, that's always good. Do some research, read, go to the company's careers page, read some things about the company, its mission, its values. do a Google News search about the company, but you should have a handful of companies that you really know you want to try and talk to, and indicate on simplicity. You can indicate that you're interested on the star icon. Definitely want to take notes. Highlight what you learned, some interesting things that the recruiter told you or the business professional, so that you can go back to and say, hey, that was what makes you really unique is, when you meet someone or you talk to someone at a career fair, even a virtual one, you have this unique insight, right? You got some information that not everyone else was able to get. So take advantage of that by taking down notes and hearing about someone's personal story. Make sure your resume is updated. Talk to the Queens College career staff to review your resume. If you haven't updated it in a while, make sure you have the most complete up-to-date one in your Simplicity account. And that's our very brief presentation. Now I'm happy to take any questions you have. And David, is there anything else you would want to highlight about the career fair or anything coming up that the people should know?
Sure. So next week we'll send, a list of the companies where, our plans to have about 20, 25 employers participate. And we'll also send some of these, best practices for you. We may also have a video that you can watch as well. So I'm going to look into that and be sending that out sometime next week. What else? We also had a question. Let me see. I'm just looking through the chat. Everly, I think you had a question. Let me see.
Oh, I see. Everly said, so we shouldn't look at their actual eyes, but the camera lens. Yeah, because when you're looking at the screen, and it's okay because it's not a natural thing to do. But you do want to try your best to make eye contact. And by doing that, you need to look into the camera lens. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking at the laptop. I'm looking specifically into the lens versus looking down at the screen. You want to try and build that connection. If it's a pre-recorded interview or live, it's important to try to remind yourself. So you could even put like a little Post-it note or a sticky up top of your laptop, by the way, and say, look here, to remind yourself to try and do that, because that does help you when you connect to look. You want to try to look into the lens, so you're trying to connect with the person on the other side.
Yeah, and the person on the other side will feel more, as Mike says, the person will feel more connected with you, because it's like that person will feel like you're looking at them in the eye, even though you're not, because you look at the lens. Sometimes you want to look, balance it, like look at their body language, but mainly try to look in the lens, because that will help you build that connection, as Mike said.
And especially for pre-recorded interviews, because that's where, it's awkward and you're just really talking to the laptop. You got this question, they're like, now you got 30 to 60 seconds to record your answer. That's where you have to force yourself to try to look into the lens and try to connect more versus just looking down or reading something off a sheet of paper. Those are things you don't want to do.
So we have all the questions. How do you present your resume if you have no experience or your experience is in a complete different industry?
It's totally fine. People expect that where you are in your career, that you're not going to always have 100% related, industry related work, but you want to tie it into, look at the job description and think about the skill sets and, think about the job duties that you have. So you want to think about stories that you can share, whether it's extracurricular work you've done, you're part of a student organization, you work at a store and you work at a shoe store, right? And you've given more responsibility, have taken on, or you had to help train people. All of it is relevant in terms of showing, you want to be able to demonstrate your growth, right? How you're going to grow in your career and the type of person you are. So you do want to have a few stories back pocket that, even though, hey, it's not the exact industry that you're applying for, you're still talking about your skills and your attributes and the impact that you have. So you can still tie it in to make it relevant. So read the job description and think about, how is the work either academic, extracurricular, your part-time job, How does it tie in terms of the type of person that you are?
And just to add, employers are looking for transferable skills. So you may work at that shoe store, but you may be building those communication skills, communicating with customers. That employers look for these career competencies like leadership, communication, teamwork, critical thinking skills. So you want to showcase that in your resume. But as Mike was saying, if you know what you want to do, like if you want to do something in sales, you'll look at that job description in sales and you'll tailor your resume based on that description. You're answering the requirements of the job. So you want to make sure you have those keywords in your resume if you have those experiences. You don't want to just put them if you don't. But that's what you're answering. You're answering the job description with your resume. And if you don't have experience, definitely I would recommend creating a small, short summary section, 3 or 4 lines. I'll put in the chat box where you can work on like how to write your resume. We have links on how you can create your resume, what to do before you create your resume, and then some resume template, how to write a summary. And then also, like, if you have extracurriculars or volunteer work that you did, you may want to add those to your resume to build it up. But if you want further help, I highly recommend you schedule an appointment with us. I'll also include our website where you can schedule. And then we have another question. With the virtual career fair will be on Zoom. So each employer will have the control of what platform they'll be presenting their sort of video chats. So as of now, you can either do a one-on-one chat or a group chat. It really depends on the employer. I think we may push the employers to do more group chats. So, employers will set up their profiles in HRQC or Simplicity. And when you join the career fair module, which you'll see under the events tab, you'll see career fair. You'll see the business and technology virtual career fair. In that sort of module, you'll be able to click the employers that you want to sort of join a line, and each student will have time with the employer. And after the time is up, the next student will be, there will be the employer can call the student into the chat room. And there's a time frame that the employer picks, but we may do it more in groups. So you may be able to go into the employer room as a group with other students. Because we learned from Baruch College that it was a little, the students were waiting too long. So we're still learning. So it's a new thing, just, bear with us. We will also have 2 Zoom rooms, one for students and one for employers. So students, if you have any issues, you can join these rooms, and myself or my colleagues will be able to help you if you have any issues or questions. So will company be reaching out to us at the career fair, or will we try to connect them in the virtual career fair? So they'll call students into their rooms, or if there's an opening, you'll be able to join the room. You would have to click on their link, either Zoom or WebEx, whatever platform they're using. You would have to click through. I'll share some more info by next week. You'll have some information that will give you a step-by-step process. Let's see. Make sure to register. If you want a list of the employers, we'll send that out. Register for the fair, and we'll send an email blast to students with the list. So I guess, Mike, how important are extracurricular technical skills on a resume if you have no relevant work experience? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to reiterate what we shared a little bit earlier, again, to David's point, the company is trying to assess the different skills and competencies and really how much they want to invest in you in your growth, right? So it's really important to try to list out interests, extracurricular activities, volunteer work. These are all opportunities for you to tell your story, to indicate who you are, what you're interested in, how you spend your time. So technical skills, all of that, even if it's, you know, things that are not directly in the same industry, you can still talk about the type of person that you are in terms of how you communicate, how you work with teams, you know, how you solve problems, how you think, you know, your decision-making processes, things like that. Is the virtual career fair going to only be in the business and technology fields, or will it feature all industries?
So for this fair, we're focusing on business and technology. We may have some government organizations like DCAS, Department of Citywide, I forgot what it stands for, the full thing, but we're mainly focusing on tech and business roles. But if you do need help with, you know, finding a job or internship in your specific industry, I highly recommend you meet with one of us. We'll help you figure out, figure out what sort of employers would be good to connect with, but also help you figure out strategies on getting what you want.
Great. Would you recommend students to do online courses like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, coding classes? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Companies are going to be really impressed if you take extra initiative to always continue to learn. That's what, you know, recruiter and a company is really assessing. They want to know what is this person's learning style? How do they approach learning? Are they going to continue to grow at our company? So showing that you've done those courses, you've done, you know, Coursera, you've learned how to code or whatever it may be, those certifications, or AWS certified or whatever it may be, that does matter quite a bit, especially if it's relevant to the job. So those things will take you long and far. Is it going to be for internships or part-time jobs or both?
I would say all. So, you know, let me just, you know, I can just share a little bit some of the roles that they're recruiting for. So there's internships, entry-level positions, finance, marketing, sales, customer service, cybersecurity, managing trainee program, Geico's recruiting, the DCAS, the Department of a Citywide Agency. I just put the name in the chat box. They have a variety of positions they didn't really name. Retail management internship and store manager in training, data analyst, digital marketer, software engineer, internship full-time, summer internship. So a variety of roles, account manager. Yeah, and those are mainly a lot of the roles that came in.
Do they need to upload their cover letters for the career fair?
No, so you would have to make sure your resume is uploaded, and when you sign up, register for the fair. And we can help you get that approved.
Yeah, as a recruiter, I would focus less time on cover letters. I think it's, you know, nice to have, but I would put more time in your resume and your LinkedIn profile, or in your Way Up profile. You know, put more energy and time into that, because you know, companies are going to be looking at those in a virtual landscape. And honestly, they don't usually have a lot of time to read cover letters. On average, a recruiter will look at your resume for 6 or 7 seconds. And so unless a company is requiring it, you don't need to send it.
I agree with you, Mike. And I think only give a cover letter if they require it. If they don't require a cover letter, you're just giving extra stuff that they may not even need, but also it could hurt you if you don't write it well. So what Mike's saying, focus on like your resume, LinkedIn profile, Way Up is great. Look for jobs on there. When you do find these jobs, you can network with these professionals through the fair, but also on LinkedIn, if you have a great profile, and you could find people who work at that company and try to build a relationship with them, get advice. Like, I connect with people. I tell students to connect with professionals at companies they may want to work at, or maybe positions they want to work in, to do informational interviews to learn more about what is it like to work in recruiting. You know, I'm looking to, you know, hi, my name is David. I'm a senior at Queens College, looking to learn what it's like to be a recruiter at Google. I thought you might be a great person to contact. Best your name. And they may connect and they may not. But to me, it's like a numbers game. The more people you reach out to, there will be some people that will give you a yes to connect with you and schedule a call. Don't necessarily ask for a job, because if they like how you present yourself, they'll offer you, they'll be like, if you see something here, let me know, or they'll try to help you. But don't go in there expecting to get a job. Go in there to build a relationship and get advice. And also think about how you can add value to that person's career. If based on the conversation, maybe there's something you could provide, maybe an article that based on the conversation, after you meet with them, share like an article that you think they may like.
Should I put I'm learning another language in my resume? Yeah, absolutely. Recruiters love to see learning in general, but that if you can learn and you're learning to speak another language, that just shows, that you can communicate with people in different ways, and you can think about things in different perspectives. So highly recommend you highlight that, and be prepared, to be able to say a few things, just so happens if they happen to speak that language as well.
For resumes in general, it's something you did 4 or 5 years ago still consider relevant enough to put on your resume? I would say yes. I think, really you have to pick and choose when you want to add to your resume. My rule of thumb is like 7 to 10 years of relevant experience at a page. So try to keep it to one page. As college students, typically you have it to one page. But when you have 7 to 10 years of relevant experience, I would add a page. It also depends on the industry, because I think some recruiters, I interviewed Facebook once, and one of the recruiters told me to make my resume 2 pages before he shared it with the team. And I was a grad student. I graduated in 2018, but I had some experience. So if it's relevant and you think it's going to add value, then you may want to keep it longer. But typically I tell students to keep it to 1 page. It's like a case by case. And schedule an appointment with one of us if you're not sure.
Does the resume need to be specialized for a specific company, or does it have to be generic? I think it depends. If you're applying for a specific role and you have the job description and you can align keywords, align terms that is being used in the job description to words in your resume, I think that always helps. But you should always have a general resume that encapsulates who you are generally and have that ready. But if you're going to apply for a role, you're submitting your resume, I do think it does add value to make some tweaks, and make sure it's relevant and have some key terms that you may have read in the job description. Does my major matter or not? My current major is education, but I'm interested in business. It does and it doesn't. It really depends on skills, right? If you're gonna want to demonstrate, what you're doing, if you're a business minor or you're working and you've done some kind of work related to business, you still want to be able to show that you are studying, learning, engaging, or doing something that either a student organization you're part of, that shows that you're interested in that particular role and company.
Yeah, and I agree, Mike. It really depends on how you market yourself on your resume. So if you're studying education, but your resume shows only education, it's going to tell recruiters, employers that you may be interested in education. But if you're studying education and you have some business experience, showcase that, based on how you write your resume. You may want to have a summary section to focus your resume. If you, some students might be all over the place. They have lots of different experiences, but their resume, so it's an employer might not know exactly what this person wants to do. So having a small summary section, 3 lines or something, could focus it to show the recruiter, okay, this person wants to do X, if that makes sense.
Do you have to send a resume to each employer you meet, or do we have to have one general resume for the entire fair?
I would say for the fair, one resume. I would, think about what kind of career path you might want to go on. If you're not sure, we can help you figure that out. you know, I always tell students, think about what your strengths are, what your interests are, and like, where could you leverage your strengths? And that's, I recommend when you speak with employers, think about how you can add value to their company or as part of the team, how you want to leverage what you're good at. You know, what Mike was saying, your passion, what you're really good at and your interests. You know, when he spoke about the elevator pitches, think about that, how you, in your elevator pitch, say something around how you want to leverage what you're, like me, I want to leverage my relationship building. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing here, you know, working in career services, because I do employer relations to build relationships and connect students with employers. And so think about what your strengths are, because what you're good at, other people may not be good at that. So, and that's okay. So, yeah, so one resume, you know, if you apply, you can have more than one resume when you apply for jobs, but typically you want to have, you want to try to focus eventually on a career path that makes sense, that you want to focus on. You can have a lot of interests. It's not a bad thing to have a lot of interests. You could do side projects, but you know, when you're applying for a job, they want to see that you want to work in that particular job, not a different job. If that makes sense.
Cool. Yes, we all agree David is the best.
Thanks, Mike. You're the best, Mike, too.
All right, I appreciate it. Well, I guess if there's no other questions, we want to wish you all a lot of luck, and make sure you're prepared for October 14th. And thank you for your time, and stay resilient, stay positive, and lean on David and Linda for your support.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Amy. And Mike,
Thank you.
Amy, do you think we can get the PowerPoint that we can share with them?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes,
awesome.
absolutely. We're happy to share this after.
Thank you. We'll share this with you all as well.
Yeah. Make sure you create a Way Up profile. There's a lot of jobs on Way Up that you won't see on other platforms.
Yeah, and just Way Up focuses on, Amy, you do it.
No, I was just going to say, we've also got some really exciting 2021 summer internships that have just been posted recently. So I know it's still a long way away and it's not the thing that most people are thinking about, but it's always good to get ahead of the curve and check out the jobs that are on Way Up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Way Up focuses on internships and early, you know, college graduates. So entry-level roles, like highly recommend you use it. There's lots of opportunities. And I think also Way Up, they partner with some of these employers and they do some of the interviews, the initial interviews for the employers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We're actually becoming an extension of a lot of the companies we work with their recruiting team. So we're actually doing their first round phone interviews, which is an awesome experience. We're providing soft skills feedback about how everyone interviews, and we recommend checking those out.
And then the one other good thing about Way Up is any role that you apply for on Way Up, you'll hear back within 24 hours, no matter what, about next steps. So you don't have to worry about applying and then never hearing back or not hearing back until a month later.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know about that. That's really good.
Yep. Cool.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.